All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the January 25th, 2021 regular session of the Auburn City Council. We are just adjourning out of closed session and we have no reportable actions from that closed session. So we'll jump right into our agenda. Amy, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Berlant.
I am here.
Amara.
Present.
Dowden Calvillo.
Present.
Riddell Harris.
Here.
And Mayor Spokley.
Here. Thank you very much. If everyone would please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. I think we have a fairly quick meeting tonight, but I guess I'll reserve that and see how we do. We have agenda approvals, the next thing on our agenda. This is a time set aside for council members and or the public to speak or to ask for removal, postponement, or changes to the listed sequence of the agenda. The agenda will be approved by a roll call of the council. Do we have any changes or suggested changes from either the council or any members of the public? Seeing and hearing none, we'll go ahead and do a roll call. Amy, please.
Sure, take a motion and a second to approve the agenda.
I'll move that we approve. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Approve the agenda.
I'll second.
All right, thank you. Sorry, getting ahead of myself. I said short meeting and anyway. We have a motion and a second. Amy, please, roll call.
Councilmember Berlant.
Aye.
Amara.
Yes.
Dowden Calvillo.
Aye.
Riddell Harris.
Aye.
And Mayor Spokley.
Yes. Thank you all. Next on our agenda is our consent calendar. These are items on the consent calendar considered to be routine in nature and will be approved by one blanket motion with a roll call vote. There will be no separate discussions of these items unless persons request specific items to be removed from the consent calendar for discussion and separate action. Any items removed will be considered after the motion to approve the consent calendar. Do we have any recommendations for removal of, well, before we do that, I'm sorry, I'm going to ask the city manager to give us a rundown of our consent calendar items briefly.
Mayor and Council, two items. One are the minutes from the January 11th and the January 15th meetings. The one action item tonight is resolution accepting a grant funds. This is for ballistic safety gear for the fire department, 10 ballistic helmets, 10 ballistic vests. Why are we getting ballistic equipment for our fire department? This is specifically in the new paradigm of today's fire and public safety world. As far as in the event of some type of an active shooter type of event, they would deploy these types. They are they're generic. When you look at the ballistic vests that we buy our police officers, they're all custom. In this case, they're a little bit more generic, but they are very appropriate for them for what they will do. So that is the consent calendar.
Thank you very much, John. I appreciate that. Do we have any members of the council who would like to discuss or pull any of these items? Daniel?
Yeah, since we have a moment, I'd like to pull item number 2 just to make a comment.
Okay. Anyone have a problem with the minutes? Sorry. Okay. With that, I'll enter any members of the public, Amy, that have any comments on the consent calendar?
No.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move approval of the consent calendar as amended.
I'll second.
Excellent, thank you. We have a motion and a second. Amy, would you mind calling roll?
Councilmember Berlant,
Aye.
Amara,
Yes.
Dowden Calvillo,
Aye.
Riddell Harris,
Aye.
and Mayor Spokely.
Yes. Thank you, everybody. We'll go ahead and move on to item number 2, which is the ballistic safety gear for Auburn Fire Department. Daniel?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a quick comment here. I think this is pretty routine, unfortunately, in today's world. But I just wanted to acknowledge that in our little community, this is not a what if. I'll remind us that in October of 2014, Detective Mike Davis was shot and killed in our city. And our fire department, our police department, and our surrounding agencies all had to respond. And so ensuring the safety of our fire department in today's world is critical. And there have been numerous incidents, including recently down in Long Beach, where firefighters were actually targeted by what I'll coin as crazy people. And so it's sad that we have to do this, but I don't think that anybody would disagree that the safety of our employees, not just our police officers, but also our firefighters, must be prioritized. So appreciate the chief going out of his way to get this money, secure this grant, and just wanted to acknowledge the sad reality that we're in, that we need to be prepared. And I'm glad that we have enough for both stations. Should we be able to secure keeping that open, we have plenty of protective equipment. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Berlant. Do we have any other council members who want to speak on this item? Okay, seeing none, I'll just go ahead and add and echo Councilmember Berlant's comments. It is a fairly sad state of our current affairs. And I do appreciate the chief going out and securing grant dollars to better protect our first responders. And in this case, it's our firefighters. So that's great. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move that we accept the ballistic safety gear for the Auburn City Fire Department.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none. Amy, if you would please call roll or call the vote.
Councilmember Berlant,
Aye.
Amara,
Yes.
Dowden Calvillo,
Aye.
Riddell Harris,
Aye.
and Mayor Spokely.
Yes. Moving right along, next on our agenda is public comment. This is the time provided so that the public may speak to the councils on items not on the agenda. Please make your comments as brief as possible. The council cannot act on the items not included on this agenda. However, the items will be automatically referred to staff. Please speak your name and spell your name and provide your address if you desire. Council members shall have the option of speaking for 30 seconds or more on items that are not on this agenda. Do we have any comments from the council? I saw Alice's hand go up first.
We're both quick on the draw there.
Yeah, you
I
were.
know. Phew. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would respectfully request that the council adjourn tonight's meeting in memory of Dr. Kenneth Fox. He passed away on November 17th at the age of 95. We all know Dr. Fox, who was a very famous dentist here in town, but probably known more for his statues, his very larger than life statues, the Cooley statue, the Channa statue, of course, the Amazon woman there in front of his facility on Auburn Ravine, in the Auburn Ravine area. He did pass away. Again, he was 95 years old and really contributed quite a bit to our community, and he will be missed. So I just respectfully request that we adjourn in his memory tonight.
Thank you for that, Councilmember Berlant.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. As the council knows, but many may not, the Chamber of Commerce today officially announced that they had received nearly $200,000 as part of the Placer Shares impact grants. And so I just wanted to take a quick opportunity, acknowledge the hard work of Jackie Weston from our chamber, April Maynard from the Downtown Business Association, John Dunleavy from the city. And then, of course, this would not be possible if it was not for specifically Cindy Gustafson, our county supervisor, and Bonnie Gore, the past chair of the Placer Board of Supervisors. They made this possible. They ensured that money was set aside for this specific purpose. And so I know a lot of effort, even including this group, has gone into building that. And so just very excited after months and months of politicking for it and shaping it, that the chamber was awarded nearly what they were asking for. And so that $200,000 combined with the money that this council has pushed forward, as well as the anonymous donation that they received, is going to be a pretty good chunk of money to help our businesses stay open safely, follow the guidelines. And I know at our last meeting, we had the conversation about the public comments that we're getting from people upset about restaurants serving indoors. It is the middle of winter. It was raining yesterday. This will help us keep people heated, keep them secure from the elements, but also there's going to be a number of other features to support our businesses. So just wanted to make that announcement because it is a huge win for the city of Auburn. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Any other comments from the council? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to our council business. First and only item on council business is our CAD RMS informational presentation. And I'm guessing we have Chief Kinnan joining us.
We do. He's joining the meeting now. They were working through a couple audio issues, so this could be a couple of minutes.
Well, I'll welcome Chief Kinnan to our meeting. Oh, wow. Here we are in the conference room. Good evening, everybody. Good to see you all. I think that's you, Chief, at the head of the table there.
He's 6 feet away.
We
That's good.
want to make sure we're 6 feet away.
Excellent.
But yeah,
good news
welcome
is
to our
we-
conference.
I was just going to
So
say, the good
we
news is
actually
we can hear you just fine.
Oh, good. So welcome to our conference room. We actually just got this done last week. We kicked it off for the first Chiefs Community Advisory Council. So we'll continue to work on it, bringing technology to the police department. And with technology, you know, for the last probably year and a half, 2 years, we've been talking about our new CAD RMS system, so the computer-aided dispatch and record management system, and moving us forward, getting us out of paper and actually into a fully integrated system that truly does make us more effective and more efficient. So tonight we're going to talk about a couple new additions to our CAD RMS system. And, you know, I think it's important that we take advantage of highlighting our staff and the team members that we have here. They're actually the ones making these things possible and putting in the work to do that stuff. So to my left, your right, is our supervisor, Samantha Davis, who oversees the records unit plus our dispatch center. She was truly a major part of implementing this program. Her leadership working with not only staff here, but our counterparts in local agencies, and also the vendor to make this thing possible would definitely not have happened without her. To my right, your left, is Sergeant Tucker Huey. Sergeant Huey's also one of those ones from a patrol side of it, an operations side of it, is making these things happen. He too, you know, brought in a lot of input and experience to make sure we got the right system and that we got it up and running the right way. Between these two of them, they were actually the ones making the Citizen RIMS and iRIMS possible. So tonight, they're actually the ones that are going to present to council and our viewers on our new system. So with that, I think we can screen share and we will get our presentation up and running.
Okay, so like the chief said, July 1st of last year, we went to RIMS, which is a comprehensive package that is our computer-aided dispatch center, all of our CAD calls, and that tracks through from what the officers see in their mobile computers in their car, and then that also leads to the finished product in the report management system. So a month ago, we added iRIMS, which brings a lot of that capability to the officer's patrol cell phone. And so what that does is it gives us access to information even when we're outside of the vehicle. The screen capture there is kind of an overview of what the landing screen looks like on that phone. It gives us the ability to see location history, current incidents, add any type of field interview, review the case log, as well as dispatch status. The device is secured through two-part authentication, so even if something were to happen to the phone, no one else is going to be able to access it. Obviously, like I said, some of the key features are officers from their phone are able to create incidents, change their status, view and add modified person records. So if we interact with someone, we can actually upload a photo of the person we're dealing with right there from the phone in the field. We can also add and modify any vehicle records, and also using the GPS through the phone, the dispatchers and other officers can see specifically where the officer is. That comes in key, obviously, once an officer gets out of the car, they use the GPS in the vehicle. So now, when an officer needs some type of assistance, the dispatcher is able to see exactly where an officer is. This is kind of an overview of what that mapping looks like. It'll also use Google Maps, and it can give an approximate ETA for an officer to arrive to the call. And it's using the Google Map layer information. This is some screenshots of what it looks like to add people and vehicles from our old system. When we were to interact with someone, it was very cumbersome to retrieve that data. Now, every time we have an interaction with someone, we're able to quickly, just by name or location, find just how much contact we've had with somebody and what the nature of that was. The same with the vehicles as well. And then also, the officers can see what case reports they have outstanding. So, for whatever reason, they need to check and see what reports they still have pending. They have quick access to that right there in their pocket. And then I'll give you back to Samantha, and she can tell you about Citizen Rooms.
So Citizen Rooms is going to be the integration between the information that's stored in the CAT RMS system and what the public can see. So Citizen Rooms is more of the terminology that we use for it. The public is going to be able to see that as their portal to be able to access all the information that we input and then how it feeds and integrates back out. So it's a really cool system. I'll take you through here each detailed little tab that it has there with all the information that's accessible that it's able to point out and what the public is interested in. So the key features, the main ones that people are going to usually go to the system for is that they're going to want to see the calls for service, what kind of crime reports are being taken in their neighborhood. And then you can see that that's a screenshot right off of the website that has mapping on it too. So it actually, each one of those dots stands for a different crime, either report or crime call for service. And it shows you, so as you can see, once we start getting little clusters of them, if there's, a hot pocket of theft in one neighborhood or whatnot, this system's going to start showing those trends. And anybody can see this information. It doesn't have any details in it that would cause any concern for information being leaked out to the public. It's very basic. It'll say, depending if you're looking at calls for service or crime report, it'll say, theft occurred at this address or a block, and tell them what type of incidents that the officers are responding for. But the mapping piece of it is really cool. And as you go in or zoom in closer, it's going to show you more. And as you zoom out, it kind of pulls away and shows you less. And then I'm not sure if you guys can kind of see up there in the right-hand corner there, it also gives them the option to say they want to focus on just stolen vehicles, for instance. They want to see what kind of stolen vehicles that we have within the last 6 months, since that's the data that's in there right now. They can just click on that and only look at that information. If they just want to look at, petty theft in their neighborhood, they can click on that and it'll take them right to that type of data. It's also, so each one of those tabs, that first one up there is going to be for arrest. And you can also see that it's going to include mugshots. So when Sergeant Huey was referring to the fact that when they're taking photos from their IRIN application from their cell phone, and it actually puts their photo in here, the system is smart enough to take that data and put it into the arrest field. So all of the photos that they're uploading from the field are also going to be included in the arrest. All of that is also accessible from any computer that has Rooms accessibility, and also the dispatch center. Really comes in handy for us when we have people that give us false names, things like that. We can quickly see who we're actually dealing with and see if that photo matches with that person. And again, all this information is available to the public. So if you can kind of see on that form there, it's going to tell you what occurred, why they were arrested, the basic description of that person, their name, the charges, and a mugshot if they have it available. We have a lot of news media that ask us for this information, and it's great for us, especially for me, because I'm providing that information on a regular basis, and now it's all automated. So it's one less thing that I'm having to do physically and having to physically print out paper. It's now all automated through the system, which is great. And with the arrest, there's 30 days worth of data that's going to be accessible at any time. So it's just on a rotation. You know, at 30 days, 31 days, the information falls out and the information goes to current. So that's been very nice. There is information on stolen vehicles. So anything that's listed as a stolen vehicle within our system is also going to show online. And if you can see that, that's that middle screenshot. It's going to give you the date, description of the vehicle, the license plate, and kind of break that down. Hopefully, us being able to share the data is going to increase our likelihood of coming across the vehicle. And then that third one there is the list of missing people. Always a great thing for us to have. Same thing just as the arrest. If we do have either not a mugshot, but a photo of that missing person, it's going to show there as well. And same thing, all of this information is updated once it gets updated into the system. I've played with it a few times. It takes a couple minutes for it to update, but all of this is live data. The next really cool key feature that Citizen RIMS allows us to do is to advertise vacation or house checks, as well as like directed patrol or extra patrol requests. So that top one is the vacation home check. Whoever is going on vacation can quickly put in their information there. And that data translates directly to our CAD system and actually puts in a vacation request without us having to do anything. It'll do two things. It'll come up on the officers when they're close to that address. It has a geofencing and it's a very smart system. And if they drive past it, they'll say, hey, that house on the left has a vacation check that was put into the system that's still active. You should go check that address. That's one piece of it. Then the extra patrol request is very similar. I don't have a screenshot of that one for you, but it looks almost identical to the vacation request. Same functionality. If they're driving past it, say, hey, we had a concern, whatever that concern is at this address, go check it out. And then we can document those, and if we have to ever go back to see what type of history we have, that's available to them as well. The bottom screenshot there is the security camera registration, which is another very cool feature. Whoever has the security cameras is able to put in that data, which translates to a dot on a map for us in our mapping system, and it's a layer that, let's say we have a large crime that occurred, and we can actually go back and say, okay, we know that they went through this intersection. Is there other security cameras from the public that we don't necessarily always have access to? Now let's go to that person and ask them for that information. So that will allow us in our crime intelligence department that we can go back and get that data and hopefully narrow down the date and time and be able to really get the security cameras a lot easier and a lot faster than what we're able to right now. Those are the main things on there. There's also a cool feature, if I didn't really screenshot here, so it's not too exciting to look at, but if you look there at the bottom, that left-hand side is all the same for all of those screen captures going through. There's a sign up for alert. So somebody can go in there and say they want to get activations on every time that there's a stolen vehicle in our city. They can click that, and the system will notify them when we're getting those types of activations. So again, it's a really cool system that integrates with the community very nicely.
So while we have you guys online, what we want to show is actually what it looks like on our website. You want to type in. So if you go to our website, the auburn.ca.gov, and go to our police services, and if you scroll, you'll see it, one of the tabs here, crime data, gives you three options: calls for service, crime reports, and arrests.
And what this will be PowerPoint, Chief. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, hey, Chief, we're just seeing PowerPoint.
You're just sharing the PowerPoint, not your screen.
Oh, all right. Let's see. Thank you. So here we are. Let's try it again. Do you see the city's website now?
There we go.
All right. Going back to services. So police, obviously you can scroll through there. You'll see the tab on the left. Talking about crime data here, you'll have the 3 options: calls for service, crime reports, and arrests. And you click on any one of those, and it'll bring you to this screen. And here, you'll click here to review calls for service. So here you go. Here's the city of Auburn. And then you'll be able to go through picking a date range and search. So it's very user-friendly. And then, like Samantha was saying, other services that we have on here, vacation checks under services. You come in and you can do your vacation checks. And directed patrol and security camera registration. So yeah, here it is. This link here will take you right to the Citizen RIMS website. Using directed patrol here, click the button, and then you'll be able to fill out this form. And this form, once it's filled out, will go right into our system and we'll be able to start tracking these requests. Same thing with security camera registration. It'll start mapping where cameras are being registered. And then we'll actually, when officers go out there to handle calls, they'll know exactly where to check and who to contact to see if there's still video footage available for us to solve crime and take some bad guys to jail. So with all of that, again, you know, we're moving so far, so quickly with technology that it's been, it's great to be able to see some of these programs come to fruition. Finally, I know for some, it feels like eternity. It's been about, you know, for me, about 2 years, a little over 2 years now, we're able to make this stuff happen. So I'm very excited that we're going to continue to move down this path with technology. We just got RIMS up and running in July of last year, and less than 6 months later, we're able to add these 2 modules. Our staff, we couldn't have done it without certainly these 2 people here that are in the room with me, Supervisor Davis and Sergeant Huey, along with all the other staff and department members that were able to make this come to fruition. So it's a lot of work. Moving forward, this technology will save us in a lot of different areas as well. The state and the federal government will be mandating certain other programs. If you haven't heard of RIPA, which is the Racial and Identity Profiling Act, soon, I believe actually in 2023, we'll be tracking all of our stop data. So every time an officer makes a traffic stop or pedestrian stop or something that's not necessarily a call for service, we'll have to start tracking that data. And that iRIMS program that Sergeant Huey talked about will be a huge asset for that. And the data will be actually entered in right from that phone and then sent into our database. So they won't require the officers to have to go somewhere else, do another form, do something else. They can do it right on their phone. And then we also, from the federal government side of it, currently we're doing UCR, which is a Uniform Crime Reporting, which is about 7 crimes that are tracked on a monthly basis, and then we report that information to DOJ. We're moving forward with what they're called is NIBRS and CYBRS, but NIBRS is a National Incident-Based Reporting System. There are far more than 7 crimes and 7 topics we'll have to follow. So that will change how we start reporting to the state and also the federal government. CYBRS is just the California Incident-Based Reporting System. So it'll be similar, but the California program will be adding more information for more tracking as we move forward. But both these systems, currently our vendor for our CAD RMS system is working on that, working on what the new program looks like. So continue to move forward, continue to try to get ahead of some of these issues and requirements that will be happening in the future. So with that, I will open up to any questions.
Wow. Chief, thank you very much for the presentation. Officer Davis and Sergeant Huey, really appreciate that. I got to say though, you know, you've been here a couple of years, Chief Kinnan. We've been talking about this here in the city for a lot longer than 2 years. So thank you and the both of you for getting this across the finish line. I do have a couple of questions and then we'll open up to the rest of the council. This citizen portal, fantastic. Thank you, Officer Davis, for that presentation on that component. So as a resident or citizen of Auburn, is that an app that we download to our cell phones to access it, or do we have to access it through the city's website?
It's accessed through the city's website. I'm sure you could pull the website up on your phone and it would still take you to this portal, and I would assume that it was sized. I haven't pulled it up on a cell phone.
Gotcha.
But the system itself has been very smart, very user friendly, so I wouldn't be surprised if the size was right down for you on the cell phone.
So for our citizens, they will pull up the city's website on a phone, on a computer, whatever, and they will access all of those great features through that portal on the city's website.
Yep.
Excellent,
Yep.
excellent.
And updated within the hour.
And you mentioned that this is all information available to the public, so we're not putting information out there that otherwise couldn't be accessed through other channels, either through the county or elsewhere, right?
Yes.
Okay. I love the idea of our citizens having the ability, instead of calling and taking staff resources and time to do vacation checks and some of the different things that you highlighted in your presentation, that all being, available through the website. That's fantastic. So thank you. I think this helps tremendously on the transparency that we all work very hard to make sure we provide to our citizens. And great presentation. I appreciate it very much. I'll go ahead and open this up to the rest of the council. Do you have questions? I see Councilmember Lamb.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for acknowledging this is years in the making. I was telling our new city manager that I've been calling this the unicorn for 6.5 years because it's been this magical, amazing thing that nobody's ever seen, except now this group actually brought it to reality. And I actually think that while it's changed course, I think we've have a much better system than we might have had if we'd followed the original plan. I do have one quick question, and then I'll make one last comment. On the presentation under crime mapping, and maybe if you could pull that up, you reference that citizens can pull up crimes from 1 hour to 10 hours before. I'm just curious what that meant. Can I only get something 10 hours before, or?
No, you can actually access data up. So when I originally set up the system, since we've been live with RIMS and the data that we currently have in there is currently 6 months old from July 1st of last year. So all of that data is available from July 1st, the day we went live with RIMS, is accessible. The word in the presentation is just to say, if you feel like I want to look back for 24 hours, if I want to look back for what happened in the last hour, all of that information is available. It just depends on what you put in the search feature.
Gotcha.
So actually, you could really
Okay.
use probably going to slow you down on your search bar, but you can put in whatever you like.
So the bullet there where it says you can locate something from 1 hour to 10, that's just an example of a range, but you can look up something days, months before.
Yes, we made the decision to put in all the data that we have is accessible to the public.
Great. And I would note, I have pulled it up on my phone. It is very user-friendly. The entire system is very user-friendly. And I appreciate I had the opportunity this summer to sit down with Sergeant Huey to do a sit-along and kind of walk through the RIMS program. But I think this next step to allow our citizens does a couple things. One, it does the transparency that the mayor mentioned and that you guys mentioned, but it also, addresses some of the issues that we've discussed in groups like the Transit Homeless Task Force, where we identified the need to be able to better track where crime is happening. And so I think this is a huge step in kind of resolving that. And then it has those add-ons, the additional pieces for residents is great. And so I'm very appreciative of that. My last comment here is this is a huge step forward, not just in transparency, but really in efficiency for our officers, and not just our officers, but our dispatchers. It kind of was ludicrous to me, and I'm not even one who had to do this work, but the fact that our officers would type up a report and then it was a Word document that you had to search Word documents or, printouts to find it. Now, an officer that submitted a report, a dispatcher can pull it up the next day and doesn't have to have any knowledge of that there was a report done. It's all there at the fingertips. So the efficiencies for our officers, the efficiencies for our dispatchers, and for our records clerk is pretty amazing. So kudos to the three of you, and then to all of the other workers in the PD and the rest of the city that made this happen. So I, as the chief knows, have been a big stickler on making this happen and being told next year. But we're finally here, so thank you guys. I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Dowden Calvillo.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I really wanted to echo Council Member Berlant's comments. I love the transparency piece of this. I think it's fabulous. It's about time. You know, we're marching forward into the next century here with regards to technology and just giving access. And I'm really pleased to see that we were able to make it happen. I love that we can do so many things in an automated fashion, and it's great. But just having that transparency piece, I think, is ideal. And automation is again, it's about time. I'm really pleased to see this. So thank you very much for all your efforts. And I'm just, again, thank you. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilwoman Riddell Harris.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First off, I wanted to say congratulations. It's not easy implementing an IT project. I've done it before and it's not always easy, but it seems like it's going to be a great asset to our city and it's going to make a lot more efficiencies. And I think that's great. So thank you to all of you who put in the work on this. I did have a couple questions. I know that with IT projects, the technology is great, but normally the majority of the work is actually on training people and getting them to use the new technology. So I just was kind of curious on how you've been going about doing that and making sure that everyone's having a smooth transition over to using this new technology.
Yeah, so part of the purchase from the initial implementation of RIMS included staff training, and absolutely there's a learning curve. Fortunately, the system is very intuitive, and for the most part, it's kind of filling the boxes, and as long as it goes top to bottom, left to right, it's going to get there. Obviously, that's where the supervisors and records come into play, is making sure the quality control is there and catching trends. Another kind of back-end technical piece of it is there's actually a reporting module, and we can run some common reports that will show, what reasons are reports getting picked back for. And so we can isolate it to, traffic collisions are getting picked back because they're not including a sketch. And so in a matter of minutes, we can actually come up with, all the data we need to demonstrate what additional remedial training we need and identify where we need to redirect our staff.
That is great. I'm so glad you're following up to make sure that all the gaps are getting filled in, because sometimes that doesn't happen on IT projects. So that's great. I also had one quick question about, does this tech tool, you were saying that this was a module, are there more modules that you guys would want to add, or is this pretty much it and it's moving on to something entirely different?
From the pieces we have plenty of room to grow. From the technology we have currently, there's still some things we decided not to implement at this time. So I think we have a lot of room to grow in the current program, and there's really not anything we're eyeballing seriously at this point. I think we kind of need to master this and really utilize it to its potential before we look for more.
And one of the best things that I love about the system as a whole is that they're always innovating. So I have heard talk that there are certain things such as like a records module where they're able to track like incoming public records requests and things like that they haven't built yet. But they roll them out pretty quick. So I don't want to tell you no. And then they come out with something really cool. So at this point, he's absolutely right. We throw a lot at our staff at this point and ask them to do a lot. But they've been really receptive to it because everybody can see what it's capable of and what the benefit of it is. So everybody absorbed it really well and took really good to the training. Training is never easy, but it was a very positive change for us. So we're able to gather more data and be able to see better call history, be able to see, even people calling in on 911, we're able to see quickly, this person is a regular caller for us within seconds, to where that was data that we were losing before. So everybody was really on board with it. But, at this point, I completely agree. I think that the iRIMS piece, getting it on the cell phone, Citizen RIMS, being able to get it out to the public, along with just the main system of CAD and the records management system are the big pieces that we use right now, and everything else is just icing.
Great, thank you.
Councilwoman Amaro.
Thank you, Mayor Spokely. I just want to make some comments, and I just want to show my appreciation to the team that made this possible. I know it took a lot of time and energy, and what a success it is. And a fantastic resource for all our residents. And so I really want to show my appreciation for stepping up and doing that. And now I expect we'll solve all the crimes that come in our area. So thank you. I really appreciate it. And I know the residents will be very satisfied.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments for the chief? All right. Thank you again, everybody. I really do appreciate your hard work on this, and I'm glad to see that after many, many years of waiting, we've finally got the system up and running. So again, thank you guys for all your hard work on that. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move along on our agenda. Next item that we have is our city manager's report. We'll turn it over to Mr. Dunleavy.
Yeah, Mayor and Council, I'll share with you one of the things that the chiefs and I kick around when we talk about our team is having the right people in the right place. In the book Good to Great, they'll tell you need to have the right people on the bus in the right seats. And that is very reflective. My goodness, the talent of our record supervisor, Samantha Davis, Sergeant Huey, the chief getting that thing over is no easy task. And there are few communities the size of Auburn that have a modernized system like that, that just, it makes us shine. I'll give you a couple of things from just today's staff meeting. I think some of the council members have gotten the fire annual report, and I think the chief will be bringing that to the February 22nd to maybe expand a little bit. I'll tell you that our planning department has gotten comments back from state HCD regarding our housing element. So the good news is they only really brought back one comment. The bad news is that they brought up questions going back to, I think, 1973 regarding zoning standards and what the R4 zoning represents. So we got one comment, but it's probably the size of Texas, I think. A couple of things going on in the fire department also. They are implementing the new AEDs that came before the council a couple of months ago. Those are the new defibrillators that better work with the ones that AMR are carrying around in their vehicles. That means that we'll probably get the other AEDs and put them either in some of the patrol vehicles or who knows, maybe one at City Hall. I'll tell you there are a couple of things going on out at the airport. There are some upgrades happening in the pilot's lounge out in our terminal building. Last week, Caltrans was out there doing some inspections at the airport. It seems everything worked really well. Chief Spencer, as our de facto airport manager, is reviewing some of the leases and structuring some of those things. There's definitely opportunity for us to bring more businesses into the airport. And I'll share with you, the chief's doing quite a job on shoring a lot of that up. Our public works crews are very active on a number of things. Obviously with the rains, they do a lot of preventative maintenance right now, but I will tell you that they will be getting into our crack sealing program, getting ready for the road work that we'll do later in the spring or in the summer. But our maintenance crews, they're working hard, and we've got a very small but mighty crew. They were also cutting down a very large tree out on Auburn Ravine Road today. And I'll tell you, it was the bark beetle. So if you see some of the pine trees that are all dying, it looks like we definitely have bark beetle going in here. In the PD, last week, the first advisory committee meeting was held. And without question, there's new blood, some new residents, people interested in things. So the chief kicked off that. He's also working with the county social services regarding a program called Project Lifesaver. What that is a program for challenged, either seniors or mentally challenged folks, where they're working on tracking for people that might wander away, to be able to find them. But it sounds like they've got some programs going on. They're also making comments regarding the county's homeless plan. So there's some things that the county's doing with the DeWitt Center and some of their facilities on some things. And then finally, just a couple of things coming out of our engineering section. They are working on a couple of the sewer lift stations. We have active projects where we're upgrading some things. Sounds like we're changing out some of the panels in the lift stations, which doesn't sound like a big deal, but it's a super big deal because what it is the modernization of our wastewater collection system. What it enables is that all of our, as you saw, the modernization of the police information, very similar things go onto the cell phones of our maintenance staff to know that if we have issues in any of our sewer lift stations, they are instantly notified. Very important. Something I mentioned last week, we saw the implementation of our new payroll system. In total, it looks like we only made 7 mistakes, which we are chalking up to a bonus as far as getting some of the bugs out of the new system. But internally, I will tell you a couple of things that we covered at the staff meeting. We are working on our systems, upgrades, looking at new modules for our building permitting system. Each one of the departments last week received a presentation from a company that's very active in the SAC region that is helping a lot of cities modernize. So we are working on that. We are also working on our capital programming. One of the things that's going to be a part of the new budget for the council will be a capital improvement program, which will list everything from our streets program, collection system, storm drains, you name it, it's all going to be in one package, or at least in the budget where you'll be able to find it. And with that, that's my report.
Thank you, John. Appreciate that report. Do we have any questions for John? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to our next item, which is our COVID-19 update. Dr. Oldham and the county did have their mayor's call on Friday of last week. I was tied up in a meeting, but John did take copious notes on that. A couple of highlights that I took from John's notes during that meeting, and I will share those with you all. As we know, we're in the rollout phase for the various vaccines for the COVID-19 virus. The delivery to the county of those vaccines still seems to be a bit of a challenge. I think we're all seeing nationally that the number of vaccines available and the delivery of the vaccines to the local health officials for distribution is certainly a primary focus for not only the federal government as well as the states. Right now, out at the county's vaccine facility, which is at the grounds down in Roseville, they're administering about 1,000 doses per day. Not bad, but they have capacity for much more. Safeway and Rite Aid have also started administering vaccines through their pharmacies, and while we have capacity for roughly 7,500 per week, we're currently only getting about 5,000 doses per week. So more work is needed there. It's a bit frustrating for the county as well as for us in reporting out to our constituents that we can't tell the state to get the viruses or get the vaccines out to us faster. Seems like there's a whole bunch of the vaccines, a large percentage of the vaccines that are in the state that are being held at the state level. So it is pretty frustrating for the county health official as well as for us, as we have to tell our constituents that we can't get our hands on them to get them out to everybody. As we all know, we're currently at the 65 and older tier. We are not sure when that's going to change or when we're going to be able to open it up to a broader spectrum, but based on the limitations and the problems we're having getting our hands on these doses, it is a bit problematic. I'm going to now go ahead and turn it over to John and ask him if he has any other updates for us related to the COVID-19 response. I will quickly say that we did talk a little bit earlier in the meeting, and Daniel brought it up about the CARES $3. That is fantastic news. I think whatever pressure, whatever conversations we can have to try to help the county and SBDC get those dollars into the hands of our chamber and our business districts sooner than later are good conversations for us all to have. So John, do you have any additional comments you want to make?
I think probably the biggie is one of the things that we are going to be sharing is just the vaccination locations. We'll keep on pushing that out on our social media as new things come up. There's a text messaging aspect to the thing that we will also put up on social media. I will share with you that as part of the current phase, our first responders are starting to become vaccinated. So that's a good thing. I will tell you that we have to rotate a little bit because we can't necessarily have everybody having a reaction on the same day. That might slow us down a little bit in our response. So they are doing a little bit of a rotation on things to get that out. But all in all, huge kudos to Jackie and the people in our business associations. Getting 194,000 is real money, and we'll see how they roll all the things out. I will tell you that on the city's website, and I provided it to the business associations, we've updated all the applications for people that want to do some of the outdoor dining things. The applications are right there, and we're going to try and keep things pretty streamlined. So overall, things are slowly but surely going along, and I think we'll have another one of the updates this Friday.
Yes, and thank you for that, John. We will have an update Friday at 2:00. Amy will get the agenda out for everybody, so please try to attend if you can. I'll open it up to anybody else on the council with any COVID-related questions or items they want to add to the conversation. Councilwoman Riddell Harris.
Thank you. I just wanted to say about the text messaging. If you go on Placer County's website, they have you text Placer vaccine to a certain number. It's 898-211, and there's no space. And it worked. I was trying to get my mom in for a vaccine, and they send you a text as soon as there's more appointments available, and you can go right on the website. So it makes it really easy for you to know when those appointments are available rather than having to check the website. So if you're looking to get a vaccine, that's a great way to do it.
Great, thank you very much for that. Any other questions, comments? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to our final item on our agenda, which is council committee reports. I'm going to go in order as I see folks on my Zoom screen. So I'll start with Councilwoman Godwin-Calvillo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've got kind of a lot to report. I'll try to keep it brief, though. Just really quickly with regards to the State Theater, they had an executive meeting last week. And after many months, they have selected a new executive director. His name is Miles Merrick, and he's coming from Bristol, Tennessee, with lots of experience with managing a theater, a 750-seat theater back there in Tennessee. Janice Wilkoff is retiring, so we're looking forward to welcoming new executive director soon. Also, they've been doing pretty well with donations to try to keep them afloat. They have the GoFundMe account, and they've been receiving quite a few donations that way. And they just continue to work hard to try to keep themselves, you know, in the red. They have new dates for one of their new productions, The Drowsy Chaperone, which will be in September. With regards to the Auburn Endurance Capital Role of the committee, we made a recommendation for a new appointment to that committee. As you'll recall, we recently revised the enabling ordinance to allow the committee to have 2 more members. So I'm hoping that we will have that appointment on our next consent calendar. And I know John was there as well. We're expecting to appoint Shannon Weil, who is a giant in the endurance community. So it'll be wonderful to get her on once she has been approved by the council. Also, I want to let you know, the committee allocated about $2,000 for the water bottle refilling station. As you'll recall, a month or 2 ago, we had a young lady bring that idea to the council. We referred it to the Endurance Capital Committee, and we've decided to look at the Auburn State Recreation Staging Area as the pilot for that particular project. They're in the midst of some other changes there too. We'll talk about that later, but in any event, we're moving forward with that pilot project and very excited to be able to do that. Also, I wanted just to let you know, with regards to Pioneer Energy, 2 things. First of all, we were successful in getting the amendment passed to basically equate, you know, each member has 1 vote. So the weighted vote has been removed. Luckily, we were able to eliminate there was initially some thoughts at our last meeting about introducing some additional or some new ways to have a weighted vote, but we were able to nix that in the bud, and now the weighted vote is gone. So very, very happy about that. That's great. So we'll all have 1 vote. Placer County, of course, will continue to have 2 votes because they have 2 members that sit on the board. And that's appropriate. They did really fund the majority, you know, startup. So good news on that front. Not so good news. PG&E has increased their power charge indifference adjustment rate by 33% for this year. This is a fee that they establish kind of in the dark that is pretty much rubber stamped by the CPUC. And what it is that all of these fees are complicated, but when PG&E contracted out for power at certain rates, those costs were there. And then when new community energy boards like our Pioneer Energy were created, the PUC said it wasn't fair for the PG&E customers that didn't move over to Pioneer or to other community boards to have to bear the brunt of the cost of those really expensive power contracts. So now PG&E on an annual basis decides what share each of the community energy boards should bear based on those expensive contracts. Now this year it's doubly high because there wasn't as much power consumed. So it's a flat rate that's purchased on an X number of years. So the cost to PG&E goes up, so they pass that cost along to us. So our customers, our constituents that are members of Pioneer Energy are going to see an increase in their bills, unfortunately. I asked the board to put together sort of a little bit of a summary. It looks like for residences, it could be up to $5 a month, maybe $6. But for our larger commercial businesses, it actually can be about $175. So it's very unfortunate. Pioneer will see none of that. It goes right to PG&E. It shows up on your bill as a PG&E fee. It is just for this year because they reallocate that fee on an annual basis. At some point, it would be great if we had enough reserves in our account that we could help to subsidize that cost. But right now, the reserves for the board are just not significant enough, and it would be irresponsible for us to try to utilize those reserves to subsidize that fee at this time. So customers will notice a small fee. Again, though, it's a great benefit of Pioneer Energy. You're contracting with, you know, a local power provider. So there's many benefits of continuing our service with them. So I just want to pass that along, though. So then that concludes my reports.
Thank you. Appreciate the report. We'll move on to Councilman Berlant.
Mr. Mayor, last week the traffic committee met, and primarily we dealt with an issue in the South Auburn area. A number of residents along Carolyn Street and Harrington and the various roads in that portion of the Sky Ridge area complaining about excess speeding and other traffic concerns. Police department is on it. They've already put in some data tracking devices to start gathering data on speed and who's running stop signs, et cetera, and they will be increasing enforcement. So the residents there were pretty angry about speeding, and so we had a lot of discussion of what options, but data collection is going to be the first step here. And that was really the main issue on the traffic committee's agenda. For the Fire Safe Council, we are moving forward with some objectives for 2021. I would note that for a number of personal reasons, mainly the fact that I have a baby on the way after 6 years of being the chair or the vice chair, I have passed the torch. And so we elected a new chair, Frank Utervali, and a new vice chair, Robert Kisloff, who will be very well positioned to keep the Fire Safe Council running. This council will see recommendations, though, for 2 of the city spots. That includes myself, as well as Richard Hadley. So the Fire Safe Council did vote to recommend to the city of Auburn to reappoint myself and Richard as members. So that is it for my 2 committees.
Great. Thank you very much, Councilman Riddell Harris.
Thank you. So I had a couple of meetings that I attended. The Placer County Economic Development Board, they selected some new officers. Actually, Scott Alvord was selected again as the chair since he was the chair during COVID, and they thought it would add some good continuity to keep him on. And then actually I was selected as the vice chair for that committee. So that'll be a great experience for me. We talked a lot about, they had an update on the business retention and expansion project that they've been working on. And they also just did kind of some updates on Placer Shares and just basically going over all the details. They only meet quarterly. So they were talking about the next meetings and kind of getting ready for the year. The next meeting that I attended was the Auburn Economic Development Commission. They were also getting ready for the year, talking about budgets, talking about how the money that we had allocated to them that was going to the chamber was going to be used and what it would be used for, talking about kind of more getting online and social media and all of those kind of fun things. They also talked about membership, who was on the commission and how that was going to move forward with some people who had applied to be on that commission. They also had a meeting of the Airport Advisory Committee. They went through their work plan of kind of what they're working on, showed the new airport lounge, which John had discussed earlier, and it looks great. It's going to be a great asset. They're doing some really great things out there. If you're interested, the master plan is available. They've got some great things that they have on the master plan that they're planning to do out there. They're doing a lot of work, and it's going to be a big asset to our city. And also, they've got a really cool public webcam that is available that you can check out what's going on at the airport and see some interesting things. So those are the main things that I had for these last 2 weeks.
Thank you very much for the report. Appreciate that. Vice Mayor Amara.
Thank you, Mayor Smokely. A couple of things. The fun thing that I did was plant trees along the Auburn Ravine. I think some of you saw that on social media. I know Councilman Berlant had been a big proponent of fixing up that area. And so the SARCIS group, along with a couple of ARD members, went out there and they planted some trees. And really it looks quite well. We went down close to the water, and the intent is to plant some trees so that it shades the creek, and eventually fish, trout, or any type of fish can live in the cooler waters. So when we were there, the APD had their homeless task force was there, and I ran into them. They were patrolling the area, and it was quite a pleasant day and a nice walk, and very clean and very enjoyable day. So that's an enjoyable event that I did in the past week or so. And then I was unable to attend the Downtown Business Association general meeting. I went to the governance, but I was told there wasn't a real big attendance, but one of the main concerns, and I don't know if many of you heard about this, the skateboarders, I call it the umbrella park, have been over there and causing some damage. So I reached out to Chief Canan, and he has an officer working on that. So hopefully that'll help out. I know the businesses over there are very concerned. They see the skateboarders down there and wreaking a little bit of havoc, but hopefully they can solve that, because that's been a real issue for some of the businesses around there. Then the Sustainability Committee is a very exciting committee. I'll try and keep this real brief. We talked about many things, but the most important thing is that we had Angel Green from the county, and she spoke at length, and she was exciting, knowledgeable, enthusiastic, supportive for us, and a great resource that we'll be using. She talked about the Placer County Sustainability Plan, and it's an extensive plan. Main components are the greenhouse gas reduction program that they have. They do the greenhouse gas inventory. They have the adaptation strategies, including, wildfires, hazards, and droughts, and that kind of thing. She was very enthusiastic about something that you'll probably be hearing a lot more of, and that's the Civic Spark program. That's a program that the county has been using for 5 years, and it's akin to AmeriCorps, and it is interns that are utilized at a very reasonable cost, and they do projects, and the county has been using them, and they're encouraging us to become involved. They want to partner with us. They suggested maybe partnering with the Air Resources Pollution Board. So you'll be hearing more about that. They're very excited about it. It's called the Civic Spark program. Also, if any of you want or are interested, the Sustainability Committee wants to do a website, hands-on, and take a look at the Truckee Green website. That's a very a wonderful website that's interactive and covers a lot of areas that I think all of you would be interested in. And I think the committee wants to go in that direction. And then finally, I just today, I don't know if the Mosquito Vector Board, they used to meet on the third Monday, but they met today. And so I had to leave a little bit early, but they were just basically doing business. But I am proud to say it was internal business, and they were voting for the president and vice president. But I'm very proud to say now that I am a member of the Organic Rice Committee. So that really concludes my committee reports.
Thank you very much for that update. Appreciate that. I'll be brief. I did have a SACOG board meeting on Thursday of last week. We went through, kind of like mentioned on a couple of the committees, the appointment of new chair, vice chair, and introduced all of the new committee members of the overall board. We had 12 new members that were joining SACOG. The SACOG board, that's significant. Normally there's a few. This last election cycle, 12 new members are joining the SACOG board. The chair of SACOG this year is our very own Supervisor Gore, who was selected by the selection committee to be the chair, and Rick Jennings at Sacramento has been appointed or was appointed as the vice chair of the SACOG council or SACOG board. I was appointed as the vice chair of the transportation committee. So I'm looking forward to serving on the transportation committee for this upcoming year. PCTPA board meeting is this Thursday, so I will report back at our next meeting for that. And unless anybody has anything to add, I will go ahead and adjourn our meeting in honor of Dr. Kenneth Fox and his passing. So meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.